Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Powell here on behalf of Huffington Post Originals to do this exclusive video conversation with Miss Dee Barnes, who is one of our most important figures of the last 25 years in terms of American pop culture and specifically hip-hop culture. She's also working on her memoir about her life inside and outside of the entertainment industry. And we're here to talk about that life, some segments from her life, but also an infamous incident, unfortunately, that happened with her and Dr. Dre in the 1990s, where she was physically assaulted by Dr. Dre, something that was left out of the Straight Outta Compton film. So we want to welcome Dee Barnes here to our set. Hey, Dee.
Hey, Kev. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And a lot of people don't realize, when we see MTV and BET and all that, you were a pioneer in terms of covering this culture on television, national television. I remember being up in New York watching it, I believe, on Channel 5
wow.
On Saturday nights.
Yes.
And so I appreciate you. And I know you said you watched me on MTV's The Real World, so I just want to get that out of the way.
Yes, yes.
You know, so we both have this history with television. But, you know, I wanted to start because, you know, for me, I don't think it's fair that people reduce your life to that incident.
Right.
You know, you are an accomplished human being, an accomplished woman. What's so interesting about your story, a lot of people think about hip-hop even today, it's so male-centered, male-dominated, but you clearly were one of the women who was there. Can you talk about the presence of women in early hip-hop?
Oh, women have always been there, and I find that very interesting, that for some reason, they're not seen, but they've been there since the beginning. If you go back to, what is the Funky 4+1?
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? And then, you know, as we moved into the late 80s and early 90s, all of a sudden it was just one female in a crew of men. When, you know, female MCs have been around for a long time.
So, at early, 16 years of age, this male space, but you knew there were women there, young girls there, women there. Were you thinking about the word sexism, patriarchy, misogyny at that time?
Not at all, not at all. As a matter of fact, though, I got a taste of it because, like I said, we were there, but we were always pitted against each other. And
interesting.
One of the things I remember early on, it was like when we had these battles, and it was always, you know, I always tried to get into it, and it would be one other female. And my job was to destroy her. And it was like a gladiator mentality, battle to the death.
Yeah.
And then that's the last man standing, so to speak, last woman standing, so to speak. Whereas the men, you know, the males, they could come together, you know what I mean? And they would do, you know, they would have groups. And I wanted that. And that's the mentality that I came out with from New York to LA when I met my best friend, good friend to this day, and my partner in the group Body and Soul,
That's right.
Rose Hutchinson. And I saw her performing at a skating ring. It was World on Wheels. And that was the place to be. And, you know, my cousin that was out here, she was the one that took me around to all the spots, took me all around to the hip-hop spots, the Avalon in Compton, you know, which was another skating place, and World on Wheels in particular. And so meeting Rose, I see her, and she's performing, and she's the only female, surrounded by men. And she was incredible and holding her own, you know, and I was like, I gotta meet this sister, you know, I wanna work with this sister, as opposed to the mentality of, I'm gonna take her out, I'm gonna take her spot. I was like, I'm a partner with this woman. I was very, very impressed by her because out here in Cali, the sound was different.
Yeah.
Back east, it was a very slow tempo. I mean, if we did anything fast, it wasn't as fast as LA. LA was on this whole other, like, Planet Rock thing. Before it started slowing down, everything was super, super fast. I mean, there was this whole movement called Uncle Jam's Army.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking, you danced to, like, you were drenched in sweat. Because that's how the music was. And big influence, that was like Egyptian Lover, Arabian Prince.
LA pioneer.
Yes, these are all LA. And, you know, Arabian Prince is one of the founding members of NWA.
That's right. For people who may not understand hip-hop, I think it's important to say you were meeting people who would be the equivalent of, you know, a Jelly Roll Morton in early jazz.
Right.
You were meeting people who were like Big Mama Thornton, you know, or Little Richard or Chuck Berry or Jerry Lee Lewis, those early pioneers in rock and roll.
Definitely.
That was the level that you were at.
And I mean, literally, like I had an all-access backstage pass somehow. Didn't know how I got it, but I was there, and I was like, this is great, you know?
Well, the average teenager doesn't decide they're going to move out of their home state, their home city, and go across country. What was in you that said, I'm going to pick up and go to California?
I always knew from early on, like age, like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I knew that I had to go to California to do it. I mean, Hollywood. So I was trying to start my music career, and I wanted to move into television and possibly film. And I knew the place to achieve all of that was California.
How did the TV part happen? Did you create the idea, or?
The TV part no, I didn't create the idea. The idea came up and they were looking for somebody.
Okay.
They auditioned a lot of people. I heard it was like, some outrageous number, like 500 or whatever, I don't know. I think the record label that we were with was Delicious Vinyl at the time.
So you had the record deal first.
Right.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
we had the record deal first.
That's right.
I think Delicious Vinyl presented us both for the audition. And we just did some stuff on the street. We just, but I had that whole video music box, Ralph in my head. So I was ready, I was ready, and I just fell back on that. And it wasn't just that, too. We had like, I don't know if you remember Hot Tracks?
Yes.
Hot Tracks. See, you would have to know. New York. I mean, I was stayed up late for that.
That's right.
Hot Tracks. And then another influence was Downtown Julie Brown.
MTV.
Watching
MTV.
Julie, she's like, she sealed the deal for me, because I just watched her just be so effortless. It was just really, she was just being herself. And that was the lesson I learned, just be me. And Julie really hit me to that.
So you really were the essence of hip hop. You kind of took all these influences, these different samples, if you will, and you put it all together, and it became Sister D on this show. So you get this show. What was your reaction when you were told you're the host? You're the host.
I felt a great responsibility, and I took it very seriously. No joke.
It was national right from the very beginning?
No.
L.A.?
It was L.A., and I had to sit down and meet with, I don't know, it was like 10, 11 maybe executives at Fox first. We did a couple of shows. They watched them, and then they wanted to meet me just to make their final decision. And so, I went around the room and talked to everybody, and one of the interesting compliments was like, "You're so articulate." Don't you love when we're referred to as
articulate?
Articulate, like
Right.
That's so surprising.
Right.
To be a young Black woman and articulate. Surprise, we exist. How you doing? But after meeting them and after they liked a couple of the shows that we did, they made the decision to make it national. Now, it still didn't, I was young, so it still didn't really sink in like, oh, this is a national show. My focus was presenting myself in a way that was positive.
You were clear about that, your image.
Super clear about that, like being positive. I wasn't gonna, I'm not gonna be wearing certain things. I'm not gonna be doing certain things. It was all about the music and the artist.
You were doing something, MTV, BT had their shows at that point.
Yes.
But those were men. And I remember watching it the first time. I said, wow, this is a young woman of color, young Black woman, who's hosting this national show about hip-hop, this culture that has exploded all over America.
Right.
On
Fox.
On Fox. On Fox.
Keep that.
Yeah. You talked about being conscious about your image. Were you thinking about the influence you would have on young women?
Absolutely.
Girls? Can you talk about it a bit?
Being a woman in the industry, you know what I mean? You're gonna be judged, okay? Regardless, whether it's our looks, how articulate we are, and who we've been involved with.
Wow.
These are the strikes against us. We can't be like the men and, be over here, be over there. All of a sudden we get labeled.
Yeah. What were the highest points for you that you were most proud of during that period? And tell us the time frame the show was actually on the air.
From 89 to 91.
Okay, so 3 seasons?
3 years.
Okay.
The biggest highlight were the first that I did. Like, for example, going to Ice-T and Ice Cube's house. Being in their house, walking over to their refrigerator and opening it up, way before Cribs. and going in the refrigerator and saying, what do we got here? What's going on, you know? And I remember Ice-T, the first time I did Ice-T, he said, bum rushing one's refrigerator is not cool. But that became the standard of Cribs.
MTV's Cribs, that's right.
You know what I mean? That became the standard of Cribs, where you walk into the refrigerator. Going to Ice Cube's house and being in his room, and he's showing me his equipment, and, you know, speaking to his mom and speaking to his dad. Those are like, you know, incredible moments for me. Being in Times Square with Eric B. and Rakim. Amazing. You know what I mean? Like, that was like, that's such a blessing. And he freestyled right there on the spot. It's fun.
Rakim Wiley considered the greatest rapper ever. By some
Ever.
people. Yeah.
Ever.
Our John Coltrane, our Miles Davis. Yeah.
Definitely. Salt and Pepper. MC Lyte, Queen Latifah. Hanging out with those sisters, you know, the foundation, as I call them the foundation.
In the midst of all of this, when did you first hear of and meet NWA?
We all vibed. You know, I met one of them at a time, individually, and then as they came together to form NWA.
If I throw out their names, can you tell me your initial reactions to how, like, what your reflections are really quickly about each of them?
I could try.
Okay. Eazy-E.
Wonderful. Funny, smart, and a good man.
Ice Cube.
Smart. He's funny. And he was cool.
Huh.
He was a cool dude.
Did you know back then how strong he was as a writer, writing a lot of
No.
the songs? No.
No.
You just knew they were doing something.
I just knew they were doing something collectively.
Okay. Okay.
And he was with another group at the time. I want to say, I forgot. I think it's CIA or something like that. I know he was with another group before NWA.
MC Ren.
Quiet.
Quiet.
Yeah, the Quiet Storm.
Okay. DJ Yella.
Funny. You know, great on the turntables. He was good. Especially in that whole, like, Uncle Jam's Army era, you know, the scratching. Him and Dre would cut it up. They would have little battles at Lonzo's house. They were like, he was good.
You think
good
Yella gets the credit he deserves as a DJ?
No.
No.
He should get more.
Okay. Dr. Dre.
Funny. Sometimes quiet. And I'm trying to remember, like, talented. He definitely has an ear for music. An ear for music and an ear for putting pieces together that most other people wouldn't think about.
Can we talk about, because there's photos, you wrote a couple of blogs for Gawker about, you know, the relationship. You see photos of you kicking it with NWA. And how did it evolve when they, you know, when Straight Outta Compton came out? 88 was a big year for hip hop, obviously, and they exploded, 88, 89. How did things change, you know, and how did your relationship evolve with them during that time, before Ice Cube left the group?
My relationship with them was, you know, like, they were fellow artists, just some, you know, people that I knew. I did consider friends. They were doing their thing, blowing up. Meanwhile, I was, you know, hustling with my group, trying to do our thing. So, you know, they were like, you know, do your thing. This is great, you know. And then we all came together when we're all in the same gang. So they were just fellow artists, friends of mine. You know, the relationship was good.
Can you take us a bit through what happened, you know?
With what, as far as?
The incident.
The incident.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, the incident was supposedly a reaction to an interview that I did with NWA, and it was at the height of the feud with Ice Cube. I personally asked the guys to come on the show. You know, we got to get you guys on the show, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, Dee, we'll do it for you type of thing, like, we're going to come on. So I'm interviewing him, we're talking about it, and you can see in the footage, we're getting along fine. It's fun and games, but they had a serious side to him, and this is when I realized, okay, I'm knowing now everything's coming out in the public that Cube's officially gone. So now I'm gonna have to ask that question. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I gotta ask my friends about their other friend, who's also my friend.
Right.
But I'm just gonna be me.
Right.
And just ask the question.
You're doing your job.
I'm just doing my job.
Right.
And I'm just gonna ask it. And you know, there was tension there because they were upset. And then we fast forward to I'm doing an interview with Yo-Yo on the set of Boys in the Hood.
Yo-Yo being a
Yo-Yo, who's part of the lynch mob, Ice Cube.
his crew.
His crew.
Right.
Like I said, one female
Yeah.
in the crew.
Yeah.
And you know, it was all about her. And the next thing you know, I'm caught up in this thing where Cube's upset. He comes over, he wants to get on camera. He wants to say what he has to say. I have no idea what's coming out of his mouth. I'm trying to figure out why he's upset. And then he says what he says. Something simple, something, you know, not even...
About NWA.
Yeah, it was in reference to NWA. It was almost like an inside joke that they would understand, but no one else would. And, you know, I'm watching all of this happen, and I'm like, what is really going on? But once again, I'm in the middle. I'm standing there doing my job. And when you're in the middle and you don't choose a side,
Yeah.
you can get shot off from either direction.
Yeah.
And basically, me standing in the middle became a problem. And I know that once that piece was shot, they wanted to somehow use it in the show that hadn't been aired yet with NWA. And I was completely against that because I felt that, and this is pre all of the shootings, like pre-Biggie, pre-Tupac,
Yeah.
you know, this one's bodyguard getting shot and this one's bodyguard getting shot. I thought for sure these guys were gonna shoot each other. These were my friends, my brothers. So I was worried about that. Like, are you crazy? They take this seriously no matter what he said. If I was young, a young black woman who they felt didn't know what she was talking about.
So where were you when you crossed paths with Dre? What was it, the event?
It was, you know, a record release party for No Face and BWP, Bitches with Problems. Tupac was there, and we were all, you know, talking trash to each other, and he was like, put your money where your mouth is, come on downstairs, I'll be downstairs, we gonna shoot this pool, and we were like, yeah, let's go, we gonna shoot pool with Tupac, let's get, you got money? I don't know, you got money? You know, we're trying to put our money together, we'll just fake it, you know, let's go play. And I was heading down there, and I got interrupted. Someone pulled me aside, started to conversate with me, and I was like, oh, I'll be right there, you know. Don't start the game without me. And while I was talking to this person, Dre approached.
And what did he do? Did he say anything?
Just grabbed me.
He grabbed you.
Just grabbed me. I thought he was gonna walk past me. And he just grabbed me.
Grabbed you how?
I'm sorry, kid. I just don't know if I wanted to elaborate now, or, you know, I mean, I want to put everything in the book and release it, so to speak. I mean, it's no secret. They grabbed me by my hair and started slamming me up against the wall. It's a painful and traumatic experience. And then when you add celebrity into the factor, it's a constant reminder. And in my situation, there's actually referenced in songs.
Eminem, other artists, yeah.
So there's always, music is around for generations. So there's a constant reminder when the song plays. And it's not that song. I'm pretty sure there's 8 other songs. 8 other songs with my name, Dee Barnes being slapped, which never happened. I never got slapped, never, ever. Never got slapped.
You said sorry to me. I feel like we as men should be apologizing to all of you.
Well, no, not you as men, so to speak, because not every man is like that. You know what I mean? Not every man is like that. I mean, you think about the women it affected, because like I said, I had young girls watching, 13, 14. So I got emails from young girls saying, "You were my first experience with domestic violence."
Wow.
Yeah.
You were asking for help or crying out for help, I imagine?
No, I was too busy. I was too busy trying to survive.
Wow.
Because it was vicious. It was vicious. So I was too busy trying to survive.
How did it finally end with Dr. Dre attacking you, beating you?
Someone pulled him off me in the bathroom.
Someone finally did intervene.
Somebody finally pulled him off me in the bathroom.
In the women's bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
So it was against the wall and somehow ended up in the women's bathroom?
Yes.
Were you taken right to a hospital or?
Yeah, waited for the ambulance, not at the club. I wanted to leave the club. First, I didn't want to leave the club, then I wanted to leave the club. But police and ambulance came and met us down the street at a hotel. To this day, I'm trying to figure out whose room we were in, so I don't know.
How long were you in the hospital, in and out, or was it overnight, or do you recall?
I do, but I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. And now, I mean, as you document, it's been documented, you filed charges?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was not the first, but I wanted to make sure I would be the last. Without hesitation, without fear, even though I was intimidated and advised and suggested and threatened otherwise, I did it anyway.
He pled no contest, if I recall correctly?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And for the period of time, there was some sort of settlement?
He had to do like $2,500 fine, and he had to do a PSA for domestic violence.
He actually did it?
Yes.
So that's on record somewhere?
It's on record somewhere. And then the settlement, yes. And the settlement was not just with him, it was with the group too, because after the incident, the group got on MTV and
MC Ren and DJ Yella.
And Easy, and said, some things that are considered a terrorist threat today. In regards that I deserved it. We hope it happens again. It's not over.
After the incident, the settlement, how much longer were you on the air with the show after that?
I want to say just a year. It wasn't the same for me anymore.
The folks who were adamant about getting that into the show, how did they respond after hearing that you had been attacked?
I'll say this, no one came to see me.
After it happened?
None of them.
Wow.
Not one.
How did that make you feel?
I don't even have words for it, because 3 days later I had to go shoot.
You literally had to go back to work?
I literally had to go back to work 3 days. Black eye and all. Makeup, extra makeup, popping Motrin, because I'm sore, in pain. There's some Pump It Up shows that I did after the incident where I'm wearing shades. Shades. And I'm standing next to, you know, LL Cool J. Why do I have on shades? He's the star. I'm trying to hide my black eye.
What were the lingering injuries from what happened?
Migraine. Major migraine. It's always on the same side, you know, the side of my head.
To this day?
To this day.
24 years later?
24 years later. I'm embarrassed to say I'm having one right now. It was a little bit earlier, started. And I was able to take an Advil. I didn't have any Motrin. But as we're talking, it hurts. But
Wow.
you know, I can function. It's not at its worst. When it's at its worst, I have to. I get nauseous.
How were you able to do your show for the rest of its run after what happened to you?
Just inner strength.
And then, as you said earlier, you have these references over time. You said at least 8 songs.
There's 8 songs out there, I'm pretty sure.
Referencing what happened to you.
Yeah, where it's just the punchline. Slap Dee Barnes, something Dee Barnes. Just my name thrown in there. In a negative way.
What did that do to your self-esteem? How you felt? How did you feel when you heard these things? That you were reduced to?
The original one is the one. Because without the original, there wouldn't be the copycats. So the original one was the one that was mind-boggling because it was 8 years. 8 years after.
This is Dr. J's protege, Eminem, making a song referencing.
I mean, it's Dr. Dre,
yeah.
essentially, and a ghostwriter
Right.
making the song. Shocking for me because people always say, oh, you know, you're living in the past, let it go, let it go, let it go. I did let it go.
And they brought it back up.
8 years later, who does that? Who does that? Somehow, that was reduced to a joke. You know, and I ain't no joke. I'm not. You know what I mean? And domestic violence is no joke.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is a serious issue. Why can't I say anything? Why am I not allowed to speak? Did he not put it in a record for generations to come? So when it's brought up and people say, oh, she's always bringing that, I didn't bring anything up. I mean, I was sitting at home like everybody else when the promotion for the movie was coming out. And all of a sudden it was, he apologized to the journalist. And I was like, who? What journalist? Oh, me? Okay, so, you know, I started looking and seeing, well, I didn't see, my name got attached to it, but I didn't see where he actually said, you know, the apology was for the journalist. So I was like, okay. So basically it was brought up, but then it's gonna always be brought up because it's put on a record. It's in a song. It's in Guilty Conscience. And I'm glad that he issued that apology. I think it's great. I'm only speaking for me. I can't speak for the other women. But I think it's great. I think it's good that he did that because it's a change, it's a shift in what he put out there before.
Do you think Dr. Dre would have apologized if you hadn't written the pieces in Gawker, if Michelle A. and hadn't spoken out about the violence that she experienced as his partner? Do you think?
I don't think any abuser would apologize. I mean, well, there's a process that they go through. There's a remorseful, you know, regret thing when it happens, but then it goes right back into the same old pattern. You know what I mean? Do I think he would have issued that apology had we not written him? I can't really say. I know that the issue is going to follow him until he addresses it, and it's finally been addressed. And I'm not saying that it's the end of it as far as, you know, it will never be brought up to him again because, for example, like I said, I'm in a song where he's making fun of the domestic violence. He's making fun of the assault. But I think him taking the initial step and saying, you know, I apologize to the women I've hurt is a big step. And it's something that needed to be done, you know, for the sense of community. Because he's no longer a boy in the hood. You know what I mean? He's a man with a worldwide brand. So he has to have some type of accountability and take his social responsibility and say, hey, that's not a good thing to do. That's not, you know, that's not a joke. Domestic violence is not a joke. And, you know, he's a husband, he's a father, he has daughters. I'm not saying that he's a completely changed man. I don't know. I haven't talked to him, but I know that there has to be some type of change that he made in order for him to bring him to this point now. So whether his back was up against the wall where he had to say something, doesn't matter. He said something because he still could have took the attitude of like, no, I'm not going to apologize. No, I'm not going to say anything.
Has Dr. Dre or DJ Yella or Ice Cube or MC Ren, any of them ever apologized to you in any way for their role in what happened, directly or indirectly, the comments made?
No.
None of them. Do you want an apology from any of them directly ever?
Doesn't matter now. What's done is done. Let's move forward.
Dee, I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today. I know this was not an easy conversation at times to have, but you know, your voice is so important, not just to hip hop, but to this entire country, and then, in my opinion, to this planet. You've been a pioneer in this world for so many years, and you know, I think about the Say Her Name movement that's been launched online, and it's so important that people not only know your name, but your face. And I'm glad you were able to share your whole story with us tonight. And we wish you well, and I wish you well with that book. I can't wait to read it, so thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate you. I'm just, you know, humble and happy to be here. And I feel really good about having a conversation with you. Big fan of your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.